Hello from Moods in Zurich, Switzerland. A very warm welcome to another discussion, a panel of the m4music online conference. m4music, the festival made possible by Mikrokulturprozent. And right now we invite you to talk about the topic very close to all our hearts. It's live music and festival culture. GreenPasses, politics, patience, what will save festival culture? We've entered the week in Switzerland with the news that two of our big festivals cancelled their 2021 edition, the Gurten Festival and the Open Air St. Gallen. We all know that many big international festivals decided to postpone or cancel their edition this year, among them Glastonbury in England, the Southside Festival in Germany, just to name a few. What we want to talk about right now is what is going to happen in the future. How will it be possible to have festivals again? How can we gather at open-air events, but also in clubs and small venues? What do we need from politics, and what frames and what tools are we talking about right now that are going to be needed that we can enjoy live music again? You see also the m4music Festival is only digital. This year we see that all the stages are empty and nothing happens, and obviously this is something that we all dearly want to change. We chose to do this panel in English in order to invite all the Swiss language regions to follow, and also our international guests. And I'm very happy to be going to do this with our guests who are talking today, which are Christoph Huber, director of the Open Air St. Gallen Festival. Hoi Christoph. Christoph is also a founding member and the president of Europe, the European Festival Association. And we have Lola Nada with us. She's a booking manager for Opus One in Geneva, and she's there taking care of the music side of things. Salut.
Hi. Hi.
I hope you enjoy this, and I want to encourage you to take part, to comment and post your questions. You can do this through our chat. When you enter the session, make sure you use the session chat. There is also a general chat for the m4music Festival. Questions put in there we won't see, so make sure you are in the session. Thank you for joining us for the next 45 minutes. Let's start with Christoph. You had a rough week, I guess we can say. You had to make the announcement that your festival, Open Air St. Gallen, is not taking place in 2021. Could you maybe give us a look into the process, how this emerged, and what made you decide to cancel the festival this year?
Yeah, I mean, we worked for the festival. We announced the bill for last summer already in June, with a lot of hope and loyalty of the people out there. Certainly, we tried to work on solutions. We probably speak about that later on. And the more we got to the new year, we tried to, together with other associations, to set kind of a pressure to politicians, to the governments, that we need a dialogue. We need a kind of a perspective. Is there a roadmap? Is there an opening plan? Is there a perspective? And the more these weeks went by, we tried to make the pressure. We said we need an answer. Because there's a few months in between the planning process and the festival, and I think still a lot of people don't understand this out there, especially people in the governments. And last year we got the decision at the end of April, which was, in my view, too late. And most of the festival, when we spoke with them, they said, end of February, beginning of March, for early summer, so June, July, we need an answer. And when all the festivals in Germany almost collectively cancelled the festival summer, when important festivals like Rockwerchter and Glastonbury pulled the plug, certainly, of course, the pressure of bands is there as well. Is the tour falling apart? Does it make sense? And when we didn't get the answer last Friday, we hoped and we set some pressure that we need some perspective about the summer. We finally took the decision together with Gurten Festival, and I think there will be other festivals. I think some of the French in the French part of Switzerland already made the decision earlier on, and I think this is just the reality for these kind of big gatherings, the major festivals, that there is no chance. But for us, it's also a signal to politicians that they need to sit on the table with us. And this dialogue still didn't happen, unfortunately.
What is happening on the front there, or what is not happening, we're going to talk about this in detail later on. Also about international collaborations or international talks that are taking place, as you mentioned, with other big festivals. You're working shoulder on shoulder with big European festivals in order to find solutions to be able to host these big events again. One thing you also mentioned is international touring and artists, and here I want to bring in Lola because you work very close with international artists, having shows in Switzerland and in France also. Besides the whole thing of even having the possibility to put events on, the whole touring situation got super difficult recently. So give us maybe a few insights how the whole thing looks right now, because if events starts to come back, the whole machinery kind of has to start rolling again, and this doesn't seem to be super easy right now.
Yes, indeed. I'm especially working with the French market. So now in France, there's some festival that can take place. I mean, the French government gives some clue. I mean, they say, okay, you can maybe do some festivals, but with 5,000 people seated. So for big festival, standing festival as Requiem de Belfort or Musilac, this kind of festival it's not possible because they don't want to change the way their identity to do it. But in fact, in France, they have some help. If they try to do this 5,000 seated festival, they're gonna have help from the loss of their revenue, which is not the case here in the Switzerland market, which make a huge difference. But we don't know yet. I think we're gonna have news soon, maybe end of March. We have just see that Caribana Festival has already cancelled the festival that just announced it today. It's in Nyon, Cran-sur-Nyon. And the artists right now just try to find some spots to be able to play this summer. But, they can't just say, okay, we have like 2 festivals that may happen, so let's go, because it costs a lot to go on tour. So they need on like 5-6 festivals to be able to start a tour, and it's starting to be difficult for them to have a planification. Everything is moving all the time because some festivals start to cancel, others try to do something. So it's very hard and there's no visibility for them. But there's still some hope that maybe some of them can have like visibility this summer, maybe in smaller festival, we hope.
Yeah, there's still only hope left. So the situation is really difficult, as both of you pointed out, for everyone involved. Let's maybe take a minute and try to figure out how the hell we got here. Because we've been into this for more than a year now, and a year ago at m4music we talked with several people from the industry, with bookers, with people who work for clubs, as well with organizers of festivals, what needs to be done in order to be able to get festivals and also culture going again. We've had different stages in this, of course. In Switzerland, we've had phases where smaller events were possible for very small crowds. It has complicated, but there is a system with compensation pay and reduced working hours and stuff like that. So some things are working, but if we listen to you on the bigger side of things, things are just not working out. Christoph, why is this still just going nowhere?
I think we had some slight hope last summer, when certain things were possible, certain openings were possible. We even did, Blauseekonzerte in a standing audience with 1,000 people in various sectors. So I think the flexibility of the music business as such was always here. You saw all these concepts, some of them good, some of them bad, some of them more sensible. And then of course we can talk if cinemas with cars is a thing of the future. I don't think so, but I think the flexibility of the music scene was always here. I think one of the problems, certainly when we got towards autumn, was that things even got worse in my view. And even though there were like good concepts with which we were involved, which worked really fine. I think one of the problems is we still don't treat this pandemic as a European problem. It's a national problem. All the countries work differently. The regulations in Austria are completely different to the ones in Germany, to the ones in Holland, and then there is UK. And the UK, they have a guy on top who really needs some positive messages. So he spreads the optimism that in June 21st, life will be back as normal. And the audience and people believe it, or at least they act like this. And I think this gives a lot of optimism right now, of course, combined with his, with his survival on top if that doesn't work out. But I think here, I think one of the problems was that the more we try to work on solutions, also on with various international associations and groups, the crisis went on, and more cautiousness was done by politicians, and there was absolutely no dialogue. We created a piece of paper, which it called Guidance for Approvability of Festivals. We created this with Europe and all the, let's say, top international entertainment companies. So it was Live Nation, it was, AG was involved, CTS Eventim, all of them were on board. And we, with the specialists and with experts, external experts, we created a piece of paper, which was basically an idea to have a dialogue with governments in individual countries, start a dialogue, seeing in what direction could we work on solutions, how to bring back festivals, shows, etc., in full capacity. And there was just absolute refusal to even have a dialogue.
Is this something you see all over Europe, or are you talking about Switzerland when you say you don't see that there's a dialogue happening?
I think there's certain promoters and associations in various countries where you have a real good close dialogue. It's always Holland, it's Belgium, I think it's the UK where you have a very strong music scene, which is a high economic factor as well. And I think some of these countries had good relationship, good dialogues, and you see some results in those countries where they have test concerts, where they have support from the governments to work on solutions, because the importance of the market is huge. And we always underestimated the value of our cultural and event, branch.
Let me jump in right here because I think this is really interesting. You're talking about the UK, where culture has a very high standard, and you mentioned Boris Johnson, who has his kind of politics, giving people a date and a perspective where everybody seems to work towards, so big events can take place. Lola, you see as well much of culture in France, and I sense there's a difference as well in awareness or just the value of culture in general that is much higher in France that you could see during this pandemic compared to Switzerland, for example. But Christoph said we don't have much of a lobby and politicians are not really listening. And in France, for example, this seems to be different.
Yes, I mean, indeed, the French culture is very important. It's kind of their identity. It's very famous all worldwide. So the government and the capacity of the government to listen to the lobby, the culture lobby is more important. They have like onions and a huge lobby that they receive money very, I mean, easier than we had to do. As well, the visibility of the artists, it's not the same as in our country. Even if they were not able to play in venue or festival, the media over there took a large place to make these artists visible to the audience, to keep their visibility even if they could not play. So they had like some special new TV shows, new radio shows. And I feel like they even had more visibility in the media than during this pandemic than before, because they couldn't reach it with playing in concert venue. I don't feel the same in Switzerland. Especially my part of Switzerland, the French part of Switzerland, I didn't see that media invented new TV show to put visibility on the Swiss culture. I didn't see that. So this is, I think, one point. The other point is the one I told you before, that the government is giving some answer to the festivals. I mean, maybe it's not the good answer, but they're trying to help them if they decide to do another kind of festival, which would be seated, they will help them to get the loss of the revenue they're supposed to get. So this is a huge help that we didn't get. We didn't get any answer about that. We don't have any insurance. If festival wanted to try to do something else, they don't have the insurance that they could do it if the sanitary situation is worse. They will have to pay by themselves. They don't get any insurance from our government, which is not the case in France. So there's this kind of example reveals that, of course, the culture in France economically and socially, it's more important than in our country. I mean, I don't think it's more important, but it reveals for the government more important.
Yeah. So if we sum up how the hell we got here, there's one thing, that visibility of arts and culture is not happening in the same way as in other countries. And what follows that is that people, for the lack of a better word, people get kind of disconnected as well. You know, festivals is something that took place in the past. I don't know. I don't remember when I've been there for the last time. It's not happening right now. So, and for small factors like this, all come together to a situation where politics don't take it as serious as other things. And as Christoph especially pointed out, the dialogue just didn't really happen. Be it a positive perspective, you know, a date like they have in England now, a goal like from when on things can take place again, or if it's on the other hand a negative perspective, that everything is just shut down for, you know, until things change. But right now it's always waiting and seeing and trying to figure out for yourself what will be best for you and your event and your festival. I got a question through the chat I want to bring in. It's addressed to Christoph, but I think it's interesting to discuss with both of you. Like, if the dialogue with the politicians would have worked in a positive way, if we had a date or something, do you really think, Christoph, that open airs would have been saved? Do you really think that there will be open airs, for example, in Great Britain? Because we all know, you know, just putting out the date and hype everybody up is only half of the deal. It's going to be difficult to reach this goal and make things really possible.
No, I think the date as itself doesn't change the things, and I think that's also not what happened in the UK. I think there is a plan behind, because you know, they talk about a kind of a strategy, but I think it gives a kind of a planning field, and they take it seriously. That's a goal, and I think what I feel right now when I speak to people in the UK, to agents, to promoters. I see a lot of motivation, a lot of, you know, there is a goal. We want to focus on that. You know, there is pragmatism in the sense of vaccination. Testing will be, and that's noted in the government's tasks. Testing is an important field, and you know, self-tests as that, and rapid testing, maybe also these home tests, will play a significant role. So I think we need to sit together and discuss what kind of concept could we do to bring back live entertainment? What can be done to make it almost as safe as public life? And I think there's not such a huge difference in between that. And I think we need to work on these concepts. And if we don't start to talk to each other with the specialists which are around in our field, I mean, we had in 2015, we had, you know, terrorism was, you know, after Bataclan and Manchester, it was a huge topic. I mean, the live entertainment came back with solutions between a few days to make concerts safe again. So I think we need to work on solutions rather to say, let's wait, just let's sit and wait when the situation is getting better. And I think that's, for me personally, you know, I miss a kind of a vision in the sense, okay, if the numbers are down, if the hospitalizations are low, if the vaccination rate is high, what kind of effect for reopening could that have? What is the plan? Under what circumstances are we able to come back? And what is the missing puzzle? Where do we have to focus with sanitary installation, with, as I said, testing, with contact tracing? These are some of the things we can do as promoters. We are used to that. You know, personalized tickets is a common standard almost for bigger shows. So I think it would give a plan back, and I think that's what's missing. We always are reactive rather than proactive, and we talk about the GreenPass right now. This is a good idea. We should have that. In my view, we should have that right now. It should be ready.
To explain to everyone, is for people who got their vaccination, they get a green pass. We know that this kind of model is going to be applied by several countries. It's also a topic in Switzerland. So you would say that this would be something that would help.
I mean, you see it in different countries right now, and it's I think in the end, it's the state of vaccination which can play a role in reopening certain things. I'm not for the duty to be vaccinated, but if a big part of the people and the vulnerable people are vaccinated, we heard that from doctors and experts that this could be the game changer. And from that level on, maybe rapid testing is not such a high level, because even if somebody is not detected at one point, the level of vaccination and grade is already good, and it's safe to go to a show, it's safe to go to the restaurant, it's safe to go to the clubs. And I think again, kind of this strategy to decide would be good, but not on a reactive way. We knew that vaccination will come. We knew that this topic probably is on the table, but still, we, after 3 or 4 months right now, we say this is a good idea. We should have a GreenPass. Maybe this is something really useful. And I'm actually, when I hear about the software problems just this week, I'm skeptical if we will have it in summer.
Let's talk about proactive things and a positive kind of approach to perspectives and safety in the future, because things like this are happening. As you said before, they are not heard yet by politicians, or these movements are not strong enough yet, but things are happening. You are part of a newfound association, Christoph, which is called Perspektive Live. A get-together of event promoters on the biggest level, from sports to theaters and festivals. You have put out a very interesting roadmap, which goes back to the idea of setting a date everybody works towards. If people don't have it big on their screen, I'll just explain real quick that the staircase you see there is just step by step an opening plan of events, starting with capacities up to 500 outdoors, and then opening not only in numbers but also in percentages, that bigger stadiums and areas can open for 50% of the capacity, and then to 75 and so on. It is very ambitious, what we can see here, what Perspektive Live presented. It starts with the first openings on April 22nd, and would make everything possible in the beginning of September. Christoph, is the idea bigger than the details here? Because to me it seems not really realistic to open this fast or set these dates this early, but it is about making an impact and kind of starting to make people see a perspective in terms of dates and opening up.
I mean, we are a member of this new working group. They put it out. It's an ambitious plan, very ambitious. I totally agree. And there's plenty of things to discuss when we talk about bringing all the needs of festivals, clubs, sport events, football, ice hockey together on one plan. I think at the moment, this plan is probably a bit more sports orientated, I would say. Testing, as I said, the GreenPass is not part of it. So there's a lot of discussion involved, but I think again we need to have a dialogue about this. We need a starting point to discuss in which direction could we do things again. And there's some opinion around of also a big promoters in Switzerland. They say, let's wait, let's don't do the small things. It doesn't make any sense. My view is different. I think let's try to do whatever is possible, because it's our duty. We have to, do some things for the young audiences as well, because they have 2 summers out probably, which could be drastic. I think we lose audiences. And I think it's part of our duty to try everything, to be flexible and even do low budget events. If it's economically anyway difficult, we agree on this, I think. But I think every step is important, and that's why right now I know that June, July for the bigger ones is not possible in the regular. In the regular view, which we already have had a Paleo Festival or a Gurten Festival, etc. But I'm convinced that we should be able to do things in a certain level, and we need to know what are the regulations, what is the concept behind it. And if we don't do it in the next few weeks, there will be none of it. And this would be a drama, in my view.
Do you agree here, Lola, that things really have to happen now, that the perspective needs to come in one way or another right now? Otherwise, there's going to be huge problems for organizers of events.
Yeah, I agree in the fact that, of course, we need now answers, but we need also to be more confident for our audience. We need to do something, because we don't even know if when these big events could do again, maybe in 2022. We don't even know if the audience will be there. I think we have to ask also, what is the audience ready to do all these tests before entering in a venue, putting a mask? Maybe this is now something that the people are used to, so maybe we can imagine that this is okay. But all these green passes, I think it's ethically is something important to discuss as well, because I mean, if now you have to go to a club which is like, I don't know, 500 people, would you be able to go and to say, okay, I will do this test before entering in the venue to see a concert? It's like, if you have to do a PCR test to go to travel, would you do this PCR test just for one weekend, or would you do it for 2 weeks vacation? I think it's maybe all these green passes and all these tests, massive tests, maybe it can work for huge festival, because you're okay to do that because you're gonna live an experience, a big experience with many shows, many concerts, many things. But to do in a small venue, to go to a concert, would you like add this to all the list you have to do to go to a concert, like doing this PCR test? I don't know.
Would it be worth a try? Try and see.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe we should try. Yeah, maybe.
Another thing, of course, is money-wise, because these things are going to cost, and they're not just logistically complicated. Maybe let's show another slide, which I think is very interesting, that Christoph worked out together with Europe, the European Festival Association. Again, here I'm going to explain real quick in case you have it small on your screen. This is a model how we could work to have a festival where everybody who wants to get in gets tested with a rapid test. So they would bring people to the festival by train. They get out, they get into a testing area where masks and distances are mandatory. Everybody gets tested. Then people get into a bus, are shipped towards the festival area, and within the time they get there, they get also the test results. So when they scan their ticket, they see if they are positive or negative, so they get in or they don't. There are models like this also with ideas of testing people during events, during the festivals, on 2 days events, for example. And I think it's really interesting. There's also a German festival called Fusion who just announced that they are going to do it, and they called it an alternative universe. They're going to create a zone where everybody who gets in is tested. So it's a site free of the pandemic, so to say, and it really sounds possible that they can create this. But of course, it's amazing, like what this will cost and what it's gonna take from a logistical point of view. I took this for everybody to kind of have a hands-on example how these things could work. But as you mentioned, Lola, for smaller events, this sounds just not doable.
Yes, I mean, maybe I don't see it. It's gonna cost a lot, and for a venue, it's gonna get production costs higher. I don't see it, but maybe it's gonna happen. I think it's maybe we have to get used to do it. It's part, maybe now it will be part of the experience. When you go to a show, you have to do it. But the cost of that, I don't know who could pay that.
And
I mean, small venue can't pay all these organizations things, and I don't know if the clients can pay it. How will it work?
well, maybe we got to bring in politics again here, Christoph. Your experience with this guidance and these examples, you've been in various meetings with the Swiss government and different politicians. What are feedbacks there? Is the other side, so to say, interested in supporting things like mass testing before festivals?
I mean, we have to say that this document, this is one of the scenarios which we have released at the end of January. So time is flying, and as we know, 2 weeks are not the same, and the next 2 weeks are different. So we have to be flexible. It's a rolling document. What we did with this kind of paper was we put all the scenarios on the table, and it's not just the fact, and I think that's important, that all of the people have to be tested. I mean, we anticipate that at least the Swiss government still says at the end of June, or at least in July, all the people who want to be vaccinated can be vaccinated. I think this is an important point where things could change. And then, of course, not all of the people have to be vaccinated. Some of the people are immune already. The question is there any kind of certificate for this? And at this point, I think this will be, I'm quite convinced that this is one of the tools in the near future. I think some of the bigger markets like the UK, they hope that rapid testing is possible at home. There are also some very interesting tools available where you can, with your mobile phone and your test kit, do it combined, so that the tool basically sees you, that you do it in the right way. So this could be the identification as well of the user when you get with the test at home. I think, of course, it would be easier at home, and it will be cheaper at home because the infrastructure of a festival with all the people is drastic. We know that. But I think the reason why we worked on this was not, we haven't said, oh, it costs a lot of money, we can't do it. Because, I mean, as I mentioned before, we had security problems. A lot of things changed during the course of time where we
had also cost a lot of money.
Yes, yeah, and the headliners costed a lot of money. And I think in that sense, having the dialogue with governments, could this be a possible solution that, combined with who is vaccinated with the GreenPass, with maybe home tests, could this be the solution? I think we have to try it out, and we have to have this dialogue. And I think, we see a lot of test events. I'm really curious now in Barcelona, and I think in beginning of April, it's in Paris, and there have been a few in Holland. These results are very important, I think. And I'm 100% convinced that people are eager to go to shows again. I mean, they put out these tickets for these test shows, I think 5,000 tickets for Holland. And within 3 days, there are 250,000 people who want to go to the test show, including testing and all the procedures. So I think there is an audience out there who really is, they want to come back, and we have to make sure that it's a safe area. I'm 100% with that,
Lola has been kind of hesitating, seeing the audience accepting all these constraints and all these things. What do you think in terms of the future? Because I don't see that we can have these kind of freak events. Last year we went with our cars to concerts and honked, and it was funny. Maybe next time it's very interesting to have this mass testing and stuff, but this all feels like a big test and somewhat freaky. And at some point we have to go back to a certain kind of normal. Do you see this happening in 2022, maybe? Or is it going to be a lot of experience and still testing and finding out where to go?
It's very difficult to say. I mean, it's, we can't predict. But if I look at other markets, if I look at Asia, if I look at Australia, New Zealand, which are way more forward, and of course, are way more forward in the pandemic, we will see how Israel will be doing with the almost full vaccination. We will see in June, how do we have a huge party in the UK? And I think we will have to learn from this. I have a lot of optimism. I think, and yeah, there might be some hard months ahead, even with some restrictions and some testing. But I heard from a lot of festivals, like Les Eurocaines made out a survey. Would you do a test before the event to go there? And I think 75-80% said, yeah, of course. We try a lot, but we want to have an experience. We don't want to have a full seated festival, for instance, for a rock festival. I think these are more difficult factors. I think we need to come back also for standing concepts to have live music back. And I think it's the same in a club. I can't imagine that. I mean, seating is good for the older audience, and sometimes it's really comfortable. But I think, again, we can't lose the young audience, and we lost almost 2 years for them, the 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds.
We have only 5 minutes left. I want to encourage everyone to join us afterwards also in the session with Christoph. He's going to be there for your question and answers. Right now you can still use our chat. I got a question concerning the future. It's specifically about Open Air St. Gallen, but I want to talk about this with both of you. Christoph, what does this mean for the second time no festival in the Sitter Doppel for the future of the festival? Is the whole event in danger?
I mean, at the moment, I have to say that I think a part of, the event industry got together in a way. And we still have to work on a strong lobby. There's a lot of open points in the sense of, support for culture. I think what we have a really good relation with our state of St. Gallen and with the city, and I'm confident that if it goes into the same level, we can go over it. What is the positive thing? I get so much support from our audience, so much patience in terms of ticketing. It's incredible, and I think that gives me a lot of, and our whole team, a lot of optimism, and. Despite all these facts, we can't just rebook the festival and rebook it again. I think it's also important. There's a lot of new bands out there and which should play, and the market has changed. Maybe so we have to adapt and make the event fresh again as well. That's also a challenge. We just can't copy paste.
Yeah, obviously, there's just going to be these 2 years missing. And Lola, I know you work a lot with agencies and artists, and you see a lot of new, interesting bands that would have played during this period of 2 years, would have had a chance to play on a stage or on a bigger festival, and they're just stripped from this opportunity right now, because obviously it's not everybody's going to play in 2022, right?
Yeah, it will be interesting what's going to happen, because I think now festivals booking 2022 is going to start to book like in these weeks. For the French part, maybe the international headliner are already booked for 2022, I guess. But it's very difficult for these artists that were supposed to explode in 2020, and finally were happy to see that they could play in 2021, but now they see that they're not going to play anyway for 2 years. And they released the album in 2020, beginning of 2020, and what they won't be able to defend it in front of an audience. And maybe now this album is not anymore actual. They not feel like defending it. So it's kind of no visibility for these artists for 2 years. Will they release a new album to be able to play on Festival 2022? I don't know. There's other artists that are waiting to release the album now and are planning to play in 2022. So yeah, it's kind of very very difficult for the artists, and they put pressure as well to find shows because they want to play, and it's very hard for them. So we kind of a situation with packed. We are packed. Too many artists and not enough places to play.
So we see here the challenges are basically only getting bigger for the industries, for small events, for festivals, and for artists as well. Christoph shared a lot of optimism, and I love his enthusiasm and hands-on ideas to work this out. You've been a bit more pessimistic, but in the end, from your perspective, you're going to go on and book festivals, shows, and small clubs in the future also. What do you wish for in the future, in the near future?
I really wish to go and see a show, a standing show, without any mask, without any test, and drinking a beer. That's what I wish. And I wish the artists be able to play and having fun again. That's what
I can't promise you anything of that, I'm sorry. But I wish for it too. Thank you guys for your interesting insights. Share your passion and wisdom and experience. We've talked with Lola Nada and Christoph Huber. Thanks everyone who has been listening, putting your questions into the chat, and especially those who want to ask more and discuss with Christoph, who is going to stay with us in the session. Debriefing, you will find that on the website under sessions. There's going to be the debriefing of this panel, which was called GreenPasses, Politics, Patience, What Will Save Festival Culture. Hope to see you all there. Thanks for tuning into the live stream of m4music, the festival made possible by Mikrokulturprozent. My name is Andy. You're going to see me later on or in the Q&A with Christoph.